first focus on the mindset. What do you believe about yourself and about life? Because that's going to determine where they are going next. And then we look at what are their personal qualities and skills and how we can put that into a project or an online business. We let them grow that way. They can really become themselves and they can have their online business so they can have their freedom.
You're listening to Ecomonics, a Debutify podcast, your resource for one-of-a-kind insights into the world of e-commerce and business in the modern age. This is Joseph. I'll be presenting a wealth of industry knowledge from interviews with successful business people and our own state-of-the-art research. Your time is valuable, so let's go. Have you heard of Chiang Mai in Thailand? If you're an adept, intuitive, and empathetic type, you might be there. It's where today's guest, John Mack, spoke to us from. This episode of Ecomonics definitely leans into the spiritual mindset element of our show, one that I feel is important to touch on when time permits, as a fullness of self is tantamount to a meaningful world around you, and the ability to move forward in it. In addition to a successful web design business, John is also a big proponent of the nomad lifestyle, somewhat as a result of it thrust upon him at an early age. John Mack, it is good to have you here on Ecomonics. I've been looking forward to this interview. Not that I'm playing favorites or anything. I look forward to all my interviews, but with each one, there are unique reasons why I look forward to them, and there are some unique ones about this one too. So, I mean, how you doing? It's good to have you here. How are you feeling?
Great, Joseph. This is actually a pretty late evening here in Thailand, in Chiang Mai.
What time is it?
It's now it's 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Okay.
Just past 10 p.m. Yeah. So but this is a normal time for me. You know, this is the lifestyle.
Okay. Right on. Yeah. I mean, not to compare notes too early on, but I'm very schedule orientated. Like I do 10 to 1, then break, then 2 to 6, then break, then 7 to 10, then break. And then I say I'm going to get to bed by 11, but it's anywhere between 12 and 1, depending on.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
That's how it is for me.
All right. Here comes the melatonin.
Yes.
There's a lot I'm excited to get into. And for our listeners, for those of you who've been listening chronologically or just, as often as you can, you know that I'm a big fan of spirituality, and not just because I'm a fan of it, but also because I think in business we need to really be well with ourselves inwards before we can do big things outwards. And so there is reasons why I like talking about this stuff, and we'll get to that. I just wanted to prime you guys in advance. But first question, John Mack, tell us who you are and what do you do?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me in here today. It's nice to share my story to more people and I can tell you, the lifestyle of having freedom and to work on your laptop is getting so popular right now. And creating websites is one of the easiest ways, actually. So I guess, I like to start from the beginning. It all started when I was 5. No, it's...
That's the beginning?
Actually...
Don't you have 5 years? Anyways.
Yeah, I was actually already 5 years old when I was born. That's
okay.
No, the thing is that I like to start from the beginning with my story because I use it as an example of what's possible. Mm-hmm. And the thing with me is that I'm pretty indirect and rough and honest about my past and childhood and how things started out, because it's not really a success story. Well, maybe it is now. I would call it a success story, but it was not an easy start in life. So mm-hmm. I come from a background where we moved a lot, and there was a lot of uncertainty. My mother had a way of sometimes just disappearing. We were living with her alone a lot. We traveled a lot. And I have to say that, I have there's a lot of black holes in my timeline. There's a bunch of stuff I don't remember, which probably is kind of a blockage, safety mechanism, I guess, for my mind. But according to my sister, we have been moving 32 times.
32?
Yeah. And it includes that includes living in motels and in tents at times, at the worst times. So when I got older, I never had a home place. You lost everything. Basically, I lost everything all my life almost. So we moved a lot with my mother. Later years, we came back down to the south of Norway. And it didn't go so well. My mother started drinking more, and we were mostly left to ourselves. And then my stepfather, number 5, came into my life, and things didn't turn out so much better. My mother got cancer too. After a while, she died. We were sitting by her bedside at the hospital and watching her fading out, me and my sister. She was taken by child welfare later. My brother got into drugs, never really made it. Been living on the streets of Oslo in Norway for most of his life. You could say that it was a rough beginning. When I got rid of my stepfather, number 5, I think I was 18. I was living up on the countryside alone, finally alone. It was scary in the beginning, but I was living in a shitty old house with my dog. And that was the time when I started practicing Taekwondo. For some reason, I had a special interest in Taekwondo, but I didn't think I could find it in Norway at that time. But we actually had classes going on in my neighbor city. So I started. It became a huge success for me, and it probably saved me, I guess, because it became a life arena where I got to practice probably the reason why I came to this planet, the way I see it. Got to practice my hidden qualities and skills. And after a year, I became a helper trainer. Me and a friend of mine that I started with, after a few years, we became the first black belt in the club, and I basically took over the whole club and became the lead trainer. And so it's been 17 years in total, totally life transforming. But within Asian martial art, one of the true native martial arts, you have a lot of mindset work going on, discipline, routines, a lot of physical activity, of course, and practice and practice and practice, which balances not just your body, but your mind too. But all the administrative work as a leader was also really useful. Because to continue my story quickly, I could easily also say that I am not the typical and average guy in the street. I don't really fit into society's norms in a typical way. The school system is shit, and having a job is not really for me. I've tried it. I've had my jobs. I've had them for many years. I've always been good at sticking with the jobs I had. The last job I had was actually at a hotel in my city, hotel receptionist in the weekends at night, with all this insane, nasty shit that I had to deal with people. So after 5 years, I quit. I kind of had enough dealing with running a hotel by myself at night in the weekends, especially after having a insane woman who wanted to kill me because she escaped from the asylum madhouse. And I remember one time the band leader for Bellamy Brothers came naked down in the reception one morning and had a chat with me before he went back up. Some of the typical things at a hotel. So
somebody's dragging a TV out of there and be like, "Oh, it's complimentary. They expect you to take this."
Yep. He was so casual about coming naked down 6:30 in the morning, and after 10 minutes, he asked, "Oh, by the way, do you have a towel?" and the day continued. So, and he wasn't even drunk. He just got lost in someone else's room. So, but anyway, after 5 years, I decided that I am not going to have a job anymore. And at that time, I had already started doing some web design work. I don't have much education, and I'm happy I didn't go through that system. But I did get support to have a couple of years of multimedia design. I'm kind of an expensive private school in my hometown. It was a shitty school because the teachers were not really on a good level. Mm-hmm. I ended up becoming a helper teacher instead and got my own office. After some time, I didn't get a job, so I started try to find my own jobs, and that's how it all started, basically, with the lifestyle that I have now. So at this time, I was running the Taekwondo club. I quit my hotel job, and I jumped in the ocean and just hoping to swim. I would be able to make it, and I'm still swimming. So web design have been my main method of having freedom.
That's a lot to take in. And as I'm listening to this story, there were some observations that I made. And The most recent one that had come when you had said that you were just jumped into the water and you quit your hotel job. It reminds me of really some of my own personal experience. Is always that fear of like, what's going to happen to me if this doesn't work out? What's going to happen to me if I lose this position, or if one of my dreams gets crushed or something along those lines? And to not know what is the result of it on the other side keeps people from wanting to make any choice whatsoever. Sometimes it's better to not risk, to not have to fail. And small story, over the last like 10 or 15 guests that I've had, I started this routine of like warning them that like we might have a power outage. And before the first time we had a power outage during a call, I was petrified that it would happen. I couldn't like, man, please, I hope this happens. If it's going to surge any other time. If I'm in the shower, no problem, do it. But please, not while I'm on the call. Well, 3 calls later, blah. Now I'm like, I have a good humor about it. I'm like, okay, well, this happens. At least I know how to deal with it. And it sounds like you have this inherent fearlessness to you because you've seen pretty well as bad as it's going to get. You've had some 5 stepfathers, 32-ish living situations, parts of your memory you can't recall. The first 5 years are like a write-off, to the point where you might as well have started at 5. I'm like, that's a lot for one person to deal with. And so it sounds like that fearlessness is now like really embedded in you because, I mean, at this point, what are you afraid of?
Well, I can say that there's a lot of stuff I've left out. I don't know, for this type of podcast, it doesn't really matter to go into the nasty details, all the scary stuff that's been happening. And I think that, it leaves a programming in our minds, in our bodies. It becomes a cell memory. I usually tell people I'm a hard mother bitch to hold down because I've been dying and, getting back up so many times. And, we still have fear. And I think I can share this with this audience too, even though the type of growth that I've gone through, we will probably get into some other details on the deeper stuff, but combine this with martial arts and you have to find your own way from when you are 15, 16, 17 years old. It leaves some, probably some skills, people skills especially, but you will always have, I think, and I'm trying to uncover that the last months by reading and educating myself. There are still some reaction patterns that I have, but it's that now, actually, until now, is starting to fade out a little bit. So there are some kind of a fear, and I can tell people now that I'm not even sure where it comes from. I think there must have been a few really shocking events that I probably have buried in the backyard as a hillbilly that I don't even know what happened, but the body don't forget. The subconscious don't forget, and there's a cell memory in this. So it's not a big issue now, but it's just I deal with things, and I'm doing pretty good, actually. I've always been very emotionally stable and strong, and solid in scary situations, and I think it comes from the past because I've just trained myself to not freak out and at all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. It was only a couple of episodes ago that I said the difference between an amateur and a professional is that you can't tell when a professional is having a panic attack. Like,
that's true.
We all go through anxieties. We all go through issues that can be difficult to articulate. And what I've learned talking to people who've reached levels that I aspire to is they're still human. There are still those inherent fears. So when I asked, like, is there anything you're afraid of, that was somewhat flippant, but it's interesting to know that you've had a cavalcade of experiences that mean the fears that you are experiencing are, I guess, for one, they're more primal. Like they seem to be more deeply embedded because of the things that had imprinted at an early age, to the point where it takes work and it takes exploration to dig that deep in at some point. So
yeah, I could probably say that one issue that's been following me for years is, which is not uncommon though, but it's the abandonment have been a big thing. To be abandoned, because I've always been abandoned. And I can also share with this audience that it just happened just a few months ago. lost my girl now in October on a Friday, right in the middle of a movie date. She just left. Now I was completely frozen and cold shock. And it's just my second relationship in this life, because it's really hard for me to actually choose someone. So that's also the reason I've been diving into the deeper stuff the last months and figure out maybe why this happens, and focus on myself. So that's been the biggest fear, probably, or as something I can call a fear, is to be abandoned and miss or lose someone.
I'm sorry to hear that. And I guess because I had already unraveled that thread. And by the way, listeners, I hope you all understand the nature of this conversation. I think is in the course of all of the episodes that we've done, I for one am much happier. I'm much more compelled to continue on this thread, because I think this is an important part of understanding human psychology and human behavior. So you guys, you're used to this by now. You know what I'm about. So whatever the case is, thank you for being there for us as well. So anyways, getting back to the thread that I had opened up, which is like, once you've experienced something, it's now you know what it's like. And so what I will ask is, having been fearful of abandonment, and then having your significant other take off, what other experiences, or like how has that maybe shaped some of your mindset after that point?
Well, first of all, I remember when I was younger, I was saying that I'm never going to get married, because my mother she tried to have a happy married life 5 times. It never worked out. She became one of the saddest women I've seen. That's why she drank, and that's why cancer is produced by sadness or anger. That's something we know. So that's something to understand. And I guess I've been thinking that I will not keep that type of energy in my system, at least. So I don't fear that. It's not that. If I should mention another fear, it would be about, I don't have that anymore, but it would be not to repeat any history of any kind. That's why I always, stayed away from drinking. Never smoked, never done any drugs. I don't drink. I can have a glass of wine or a beer, but it's very seldom. But besides that, I think what's left of a fear now could probably be to not reach my goals. It's not really a fear, because that creates resistance itself. I don't know what else that would be now. Seems like I'm getting more and more solid.
It's ongoing. Well, you know what? In the interest of quid pro quo, I'll share, one of my longstanding issues, because you say that, cancer is caused by sadness and anger. And my first reaction to that is, one of my main issues going through my life is that, having been through a lot of institutional systems, school, college, then held down a couple of jobs here and there, I have a hard time with attacks, either perceived or actually tangible attacks. No one's ever actually gotten into a fight with me, because most people actually think I'm crazy. But
physically,
no. My brother and I, we would duke it out. But we're brothers, we're kids. It's part of that. But it's all the verbal. And when somebody says, well, it's just words, I'm like, well, no, actually, no. There's physical sonic waves that are being projected from one person to another. So it's actually very physical. And so even to this day, I'm like deliberately not looking at a group conversation that I'm a part of, because I'm worried of someone responding to something that I said I'm going to perceive as an attack, even if it's not. The intentions seem to have like no effect whatsoever. I don't care what the intention is. If it seems like an attack, I have that reaction to it, and I have a huge cortisol spike. And far be it from anyone to expect the person I'm talking to have like the cure for it. But like, is that one that you've experienced as well? Have you maybe had a chance to deal with that? Because I imagine some of our listeners are dealing with it too.
There's 2 things that comes to my mind now. This is an interesting topic too, and I'm going to go into a spiritual topic on that, which I guess is more common and more. It's more interesting, and people are more open for this now. But the first thing is, I could kind of feel a similar thing, and that would be to be afraid of making sure that I don't say or do anything wrong. It's like from before, is it okay that I exist? Is it okay that I'm in this room? I'm super afraid of saying something wrong or doing something wrong. And I can't remember that I've been physically beaten. like from a father or anything. But there's been violence.
Could I just stop you for 1 second? Because one thing I did want to wonder is, have you ever had to defend yourself with your martial arts?
Well, I have, but not too physically. And I think the reason is that and I'm very aware of my energy and my physical presence. The thing is that in a room, I'm basically I'm the boss when I claim it, in especially in a situation which I had many times at the hotel. And my energy seems to have such a presence that it never turns out to be physical, unless it's drunk people, and you can't really counterattack anything, especially there. But I've had guys that have been so close up to my face that they touched my nose tip, and I've had threats, but I haven't had the need to do what I would do in a competition, for example, because that taekwondo is pretty rough and hard. It's bone crushing. That's what we did for fun at times. We broke roof tiles. That's why I've broken my fist a couple of times in my toe, and we did it again after that. So we're trying to avoid that. But I've had the defense system is my energy and my voice and my eyes. So that's all.
Again, sorry to interrupt there with that one, but that one was kind of like chambered for a while. So going back to your other thread, you were saying that you had never experienced any kind of physical abuse from say like one of the parental figures.
Not physical, more like emotional and words, like you just mentioned now. And that's why I think I maybe have some of the same reaction patterns as you have. Now I can stand. Now I can stand everything. I don't give a shit anymore, and people just get it, twice as strong back. And that's why I never get into trouble, because nobody ever, nobody creates. I don't attract that kind of people either, so it's not a problem. The second thing I want to mention when I talk to people about a topic like this, it is that, like for example, for you now, you have this energy signature in you and a reaction pattern for a reason, and it comes from the past. You didn't create this for fun. It comes from the past because your bodily system remembers it. That's why you react like this. What I say to people that if you want to figure this out, the source of this, you can go back in time. So normally we start to go back from our childhood, because things happen there and we get shaped and formed by the grown-ups and the surroundings and environment around us. But the case now is that we do know that you can go further back. You can count down to 3, 2, 1, 0, and you can count backwards, and you can go back to your previous life. And you don't even know if you actually are passing over memories from your past life that are still with you. And this is nothing new to understand past life situations. And I use this in my coaching, because when people understand that things doesn't just happen in this life, it happens also in other lifetimes. Suddenly people will find answers to questions they have had with personal traits and patterns they never figured out. They have no clue where it comes from. And there's so much information about past lives now. And there's so many children's stories with where now they even find evidence, So we do know that we're not just living one life and think we're finished. We have several lifetimes. So everything we are today is the sum of all lives. That's why we have personalities and interests and traits passing along. So it could come from that for your part too.
Yeah, well, the way I had came to the past life conclusion was almost like reverse engineering, where one day I was just thinking about what would I do differently if I were to come back and live this life again? Would I, date this person instead of this person? Would I get more into Super Smash Brothers and not less? Would I go to this high school and not that high school? The answer to all three was yes, I would go to a different high school. And yes, I would get more into Super Smash Brothers. That's actually like one of the main catalysts. And then I thought, well, hold on a second. If I'm already planning out the variables for my next life experience, what's stopping this from being the life experience that I had planned prior? So some of my own theories also has to do with, and by the way, this actually is part of what I had mentioned to you before we started recording about positive and negative graduation into higher dimensions. For those of you who've maybe heard of like the Ra contact or the Book of Ra, this is where a lot of this comes from. And one of the ideas there is that, we give ourselves these experiences. The self sets up this life for us so that we can learn, so that we can have these experiences and take that knowledge back with us when we head back up into the higher dimension. So it's a bit of a sensitive a topic to bring to you, because it would imply that yourself wanted you to have this experience so that you can have major takeaways from it. Do you agree or disagree? And so do you think that, what do you think would be like the lessons, at least so far, that you wanted to teach yourself?
Well, I agree with that completely. And it's a super interesting question, and something I think it's also super useful for listeners, because I have no problem with my past, with all the fuckery that's been happening. And all the people that I could say have done wrong to me, I don't hate them at all, because I have chosen, that's how I see this. I've chosen this timeline, this lifeline, you could see, for a reason. And when I understand that I came here for another episode in this incarnation to have a certain red thread of a topic, which could be embodiment in this life, everything makes sense. And when I tell people, sometimes when people can take that kind of a joke, well, sorry, but you created this yourself. That when I say that, and when we talk about the topic, it doesn't mean that they created it on purpose a few months ago. It's a choice we made before we came here, because we choose our own parents for a reason, so that we can have a certain lifeline outcome, which brings about circumstances so that we can get the teachings and lessons we need and meet the people we meet. That's why we also meet some of the same souls over and over, because we are reincarnated into the same soul group. And that's why people walk along their life path one day and suddenly bump into a person, the body, your higher self recognize the soul from before, and you will have a instant chemical reaction, or a love connection or a hate connection, depending on what the past life was. So that's why we can sometimes synchronize with people. But yeah, everything that have happened to me, even now, what happened in October with my girl, which I treated like a queen, and we had a wonderful relationship, never any fuss. That happened also for a reason. So it doesn't make things feel better, but it makes sense.
It helps to process the information.
And I'm in control of my life.
I'm going to shift gears. So what I want to get into is to the nomad lifestyle. We're having this call. You're in Thailand right now. How long have you been there in Thailand?
We came here first time in 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah. So the story is there's my girl. She's from the United States, and she found me on one of my YouTube videos. She then discovered my Instagram account, and she found an image with a book I read by Dolores Cannon about past lives. And she started chatting. She immediately came to Norway to visit, but she could only stay for 3 months because of tourist visa. So after 3 months, in Norway is insane when it comes to prices and fees. So we just abandoned the whole country. And she had done some research on Chiang Mai in Thailand, which easily comes up as a nomad, city for people like us. And we left, and we ended up staying here for 6 months. And then we traveled back to Norway. I packed all my crap up, threw away 80% of my stuff, and we went back to Thailand. And we have been here now for a year.
What I'm wondering about the pattern of going from place to place was established pretty early on. I guess what would have been the longest amount of time that you would spend anywhere? Would it have been like in Norway for like a good chunk of time?
You mean for traveling, like this type of lifestyle, or?
Yeah. So there's a part of it that was basically out of your control, and then we get to the point where that's in your control. And so briefly, I'm also wondering if there was like a middle point between those two where you actually hadn't been traveling either by choice or by consequence.
Well, I could say that, I've been traveling before for short trips. You go for holidays and stuff like that. I had some trips. But that was, with you feel like you're in control, and it's nice to travel and stuff. But this time, when we actually felt that we had to get out of the whole Schengen zone, that was not fun at all. It was super scary because the only thing we had going to Thailand was a 3-day Airbnb, and we had no clue where to live. That was not fun at all. Because the problem is with me then is that I've always had the need to have control of my home place because we've been tossed around our whole life. So my apartment in Norway, I had that for 17 years. The same apartment, renting from an old lady, 17 years I didn't move. So to suddenly, just leave the country and come to Thailand when you have never been before, that was nasty. But everything just got in the flow when we came here and turned out really well.
Mm-hmm. And as you said too, that it was formatted, I guess. It's built expecting the nomad lifestyle. So what is it exactly about? Sorry, what was the name of the city again?
Chiang Mai is
Chiang Mai. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it about that town that seems to encourage that particular lifestyle?
Well, I can tell you that a typical thing for people that come here, like people like us, it is seekers. So when we talk about the spiritual topics, it's a kind of a perfect blend and mix of those people, because it's and I can actually tell you, all the England people from England and all the people from the United States that I met, nobody wants to go back. People come to Chiang Mai because it's up north in Thailand, by the way. It's big here, but you don't get a big city feeling. It's not like Bangkok. It's peaceful. It's good energy, and Thai people is wonderful. They have a totally different energy than people in Norway. They are open. They are smiling always. You're really welcome. It's soft energy around here. Chiang Mai is a city with over 300 temples just in the city. So you can imagine that it leaves an imprint and kind of an energy grid in itself. So it is a place that I would say it's perfect for nomads because it's cheap, very cheap. But the technology is top modern. Internet here is so much better than Norway.
Yeah, your internet's really good. Like you're on like a 1080p camera, if my eyes don't deceive me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a slow line here in my condo. I'm living actually a pretty luxury condo compared to what Thai people are used to. Really nice condo here. I pay 15,000 baht a month, which I will try to convert to US dollars now. That would be $500 a month here for a new condo. Outside we got a gym and we got a pool, really nice, like a Zen garden outside. And I'm renting an expensive place compared to what other people do. It's 3 minutes on my scooter to a yellow co-working space, which is brand new. Internet lines on my last coffee shop visit was 600 megabit, and I got 70 here in the condo. It's a perfect place to work because the energy of people coming here, the nomad people, they are really open. They are interesting people. They are looking for some deeper meaning of life. Almost everybody of them. And Chiang Mai have a really good blend of a good place to work, eat, live, and grow spiritually. If you want to mix your freelance lifestyle with more mindfulness practices.
Well, I don't know about you listeners, but that is one heck of a pitch. Like, wow! I never heard of this city before. But what one thing I wanted to get into, and I think this is as good as a transition as any, is the client base that you attract. I happen to think that some of the energy you put out is in its own way, it's filtering the energy that is coming to you, seeking your guidance, and that's also something that I encourage on the program as well. Is I don't realistically expect listeners to check out every single person that I interview. Just not that kind of time. But I do expect listeners to check out the people that they really connect with, and putting out the energy that you do. I imagine that you connect with those people. So you can tell me like if the stats don't support that. But you get people who I think are more definitely in my position, who are sedentary, been in one place pretty much the whole time. I'm 31 years old now. I've been living in this apartment for like 6 months, and then I've been living in my parents' place for the rest of it. So for me, that routine is it's so it's such a major component of my life, to the point where I don't think there will be another routine that can match that. Like, I don't know if I can live in another place for that long. It's and the other thing too is that it doesn't it's a little harder to discern the different chapters of our lives. Like, I mean, high school chapter, college chapter, this job chapter, that job chapter, but it all tends to be more condensed by always coming back to the one home place. Anyways, that's a lot of, like, me just kind of like spilling it. So let me just get back to the question. The question is, have you had the chance to help people, maybe more in my position, adopt the nomad lifestyle through the coaching and through what you teach them? Has it been more like just giving them the tools and they figure it out for themselves? Do you have examples of people who actually like make that leap?
Yeah, I do, and I can tell you it's my main concept of my coaching, and I can also share that it's been a challenge for me to put a name and a label on what I do for people. So to clarify this now you know that my backstory, and also you understand that I look at reality differently. I cannot have a job. I need to work for myself. I'm good at technical stuff and computers. Web design is a good method for that. But I also focus on the deeper parts of life, because I can't just live by society's shallow, limiting belief systems and norms. What make me happy? And there's more and more people now that we call it waking up. Most people have heard about that now, to understand that what the government and the school system have told us is not necessarily correct. So how do I put a label on that? I mean, web design have been my main way of having freedom, because it's been work is always coming to me. I have never promoted anything. I don't market in any way. Work is just coming in the door. Because of that, I could just leave Norway, right, and come here, and I can even live cheaper and a higher quality of life. But when it comes to the other life arena, which goes into mindset and spirituality and life choices, how do I combine? How do I combine this? So, but yeah, what I do for people mostly now is to first focus on the mindset. What do people? What do you believe? What do you believe about yourself and about life? Because that's going to determine where they are going next. Um, we live in a reality where most people have limited belief systems because of the system we get pushed through. School is crap with that. There's nothing in the school system that focuses on you, where you come from and why you are here, and your personal qualities and skills. Self-discovery and deeper insights is not even part of it. You just push through the system to get a job, mostly. So how do I combine that? So a typical thing, let me use an example from one of my taekwondo students in Norway. Many of them are coming back to me the last years because they don't fit in. One of them even go to therapy because school crushed him totally. But one of the guys, Andy, a wonderful guy that was so different that 4 times he was digging himself out from kindergarten when he was 4. He couldn't be there. He could never have a job. He could not go to school. It was just a mess. He ended up going into drugs because the system tried to push him through with the rest of the sheep herd. And after many years of failing and being in drugs and into drugs and just sitting at home with his parents, he contacted me because he saw that I posted a book about Buddha on Facebook many years ago. And he reached out and he wanted to talk, and I recognized him. And I immediately understood that, okay, it's one of the awakened ones. He do not fit in. So what I've done for him is to basically it's just being a friend. That was enough. And I confirmed a whole bunch of his understandings about life. And he was a fresh soul with so much built-in knowledge, which is why so many people like us we just don't fit in. It just doesn't feel right. And something is pushing us, right? So how are they going to make it? If you don't fit into the system, what are your options? Well, first of all, I take through people a mindset shift to understand that the deeper part of them are real and they should honor that. and they should go even deeper with it so they can be an example for others. And it's the truth for them. You can't dig that down in the backyard, like I say, like a hillbilly, because it's just a fist is going to come up through the ground one day. And then we look at what are their personal qualities and skills, and how we can put that into a project or an online business. And that's where the combination come in. I help people set up a website, typically create a product. I have a whole bunch of knowledge about integration or system I can integrate into a website, online platforms, and we let them grow that way. They can really become themselves, and they can have their online business, so they can have their freedom. That's how I kind of combine it, and that's how I focus on things. I hope that makes sense for people.
Yeah. One of the things that I read when I was looking at your website too is that by getting people into web design, it's if they don't have the technical knowledge, it's fine. If they don't have the design knowledge either, it's also fine. So web design is something that pretty much anybody can adopt, and for the most part, I think most people can justify having a website. So, what kind of content or what kind of websites do you end up helping people build? So, one thing, just want to make sure that I'm crystal clear on this: the ratio of like ones you build for them or the ones that you help them build. Is it more the former or more the latter?
Well, usually most of the work that I get is, you mean for clients, web
Yeah.
design clients? Yeah, it's either redesign. It's been a lot of e-commerce with Shopify. And sometimes it's a completely brand new website from an idea that people have because they want to start something. It's been a mix. It's been a lot of beginners. Yeah, and how they find me, I don't know. It's just they discover me probably through reputation or online search. Could be.
Yeah, maybe word of mouth. I mean, do you recall maybe like what was how some of the first clients found you?
You could say that I had a network, of course, because I had kind of a face in my hometown because of taekwondo and all the shows we had in town. I also did film production for a few years, and I was hanging out of helicopters and following class one offshore boats, and that gave me some connections. So I started just talking to people, and it's basically what I put into my course too now. How do you get your first client? So I think that must be it. I started talking to people, and I did a couple of jobs, and people started talking, and more came to me. That's how it all began.
Yeah, I mean, me with the clients that I had earned over the 6 or 7 years that I was doing freelancing, it was like some of them were word of mouth. Usually, what would happen is I had to get like a keystone client, somebody who had his or her own set of connections. As like one keystone client ended up leading to like 3 or 4 other potential jobs, some of which came through, some of which didn't. But I went all over, Upwork, Fiverr, local Craigslist too. Actually turned out to be one of the best places for me because at the end of the day, the important part was making sure that I'm really connecting with the people that I'm going to work with. I mean, getting into podcast editing is like there are more lucrative career paths that I can take.
Yeah.
That was my logic at the time, and interestingly, podcasting has actually turned pretty lucrative. So I'm going to give myself a quick pat on the back on that one. I want to ask about the motion effect. Now, is this something that we've already talked about? We just didn't name it, or is the motion effect something in particular that we can address?
Yeah, we can. I mean, it's basically what we talked about. So, JohnMac.pro is me as a web designer.
Oh, okay,
Basically.
okay.
Yeah. So, because the challenge for me, like I basically mentioned now, is that I had it was challenging for me to use motioneffect.com to promote web design when I talk about mindset shifts. So I basically started playing with stuff in 2019 when we came to Chiang Mai. And that's when I signed up johnmike.pro domain, and I basically separated it because I wanted to have focus on me as a web designer. Not that I need to promote anything, but I want to have clear things, organized in a clear way. So that's the web designer, johnmike.pro, and then motion-effect.com is where I have cleaned up the website to talk about mindset shifts.
I think I just want to make sure that I got the name for this because I did write it down. It was because I know that you have like your connection, right? I think it's something along the lines of a tribe. And I know that you also offer like life hacks. And I actually thought when I first started doing this show way back, I thought I was going to ask people all the time about life hacks, and I'm not doing that. But maybe are there any particular ones that you'd be willing to share with our audience that are just like really good and actionable?
Life hacks, you mean for improving life in general or for freelance work?
If there's an answer to both, I would be happy to hear one of each.
I have a few options that I keep returning to, which I think is super important. And I can connect that with the time we are in now. And this is not for everybody, but it doesn't matter what people believe in. It's going to affect everybody, whether they want it or not. And this is not something new. I'm not bringing in any news here. You can connect this to the Mayan calendar and a lot of ancient old text, even the Bible for people who knows the Bible. But that we are in a time where there will be a great shift. And this is not something hippie news people have made up. It's coming from ancient knowledge, and we are right in that time now, which means that there will be a big shift on the planet on many levels. And I am pretty sure many of your listeners have had some experiences the last months, unexpected shifts and unexpected separations from the old, which can include places they live, the job they had, someone they loved, family. There are separations going on because the old is going to be separated from the new earth. And you just have to relax with that and honor that. And one of the life hacks, which can be dramatic for some people, that is to make sure that you will make it through this time without creating too much resistance, is to be open for it and understand that we are more than just our bodies. And there's a spiritual shift on the planet which affects our bodies and mind. And to live through that in a good way, one of the best things would be to start considering your closest friends and family. There might be some people you may have to gently leave. So start to associate with people that benefit you instead, people you want to become like. So that's one way. Clean up the type of information and knowledge you stuff in your mind. Stop watching the news. The pandemic we have been through now. The thing is that when you start to do your own research, and I've done it for years, you don't really believe anything you're served anymore. I'm not too much into the pandemic madness. The only thing I know that the pandemic is about fear. Stop watching the news. Start filtering information like shitty entertainment and stuff your mind with some good books that's going to rewrite your mindset so you can feel better. Clean up your eating, because if you're going to make it in this shift and have a bright mind to make the new choices you want to make, you should at least make sure that you have a pretty clean body system, because it's going to, I mean, we know now that the gut is connected to the brain and can create depression, silent depression. So to try to eat pretty clean, that helps because you can think more clearly and make smarter decisions. So that's basically my main life hacks now, and that's going to make some profound changes. Filter out people, places, food, and knowledge. Super important, and it's going to upgrade your life immensely.
One thing, so just so our listeners understand, is I'm totally on John's side on this. I mean, for me, I had some pretty significant changes in the last year, which I characterize by the work that I get to do here. Have I called it a job? Yes, numerous times. Do I have any negative or positive associations with it? Mostly positive. But that aside, yes, this is. I don't fully know what it is that's happening, and I definitely don't know when it's going to happen. But there is something going on, and
you feel it too?
I guess, like, yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And then, like me, I've been like, I think it was for me, it was around like 2016. I started to notice that, like, if I really wanted to connect with higher dimensions and try to get knowledge from like the upper planes, there's a practical way to do it, which is to have dreams. And then I realized, well, how does somebody have good dreams? Well, exercise, diet, surround yourself with people that that are good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I will make a small caveat, not that I'm disagreeing with you in particular, but I do I try to make sure that I have a few people in my life who like push back against me, just to make sure that I I've got like some of that resistance in there. And so all of these things are have started to culminate, and I'd love to see what's gonna where we're going from this, and it seems like the timing of it will probably coincide with like when the pandemic is finally like in the past. And I do theorize that the only way for us to really get past the pandemic is to actually not wait for the government to tell us, and to just like say, okay, yeah, the virus. Me personally, I definitely believe that the virus is real, but I believe that in order to deal with it, we have to fight it. We can't. You don't win a war by hiding in the basement and letting yourself get bombed constantly. You win a war by fortifying yourself. Get sunshine, get zinc, and I mean, I haven't even had a cold in 2 years, so
I haven't been sick in years either. So yeah.
And all of these things, it's important because, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, but let's say that we reach our goals or our milestones. There's more in the future, but let's say we nail it, and we have the freedom that John here has achieved. Well, if our mind isn't together, then that's going to come crumbling down, because the pressure will mount, and there's more responsibility to deal with in its own way, especially because we are now independent. So you've got to have you got to have the inside ready to go, because it is not going to be easy. Sorry, I think at this point you might want to weigh in on any of that.
Well, I just recognize what you're saying. It's the thing is that when you just suddenly, we're not used to this. We're not taught to choose ourselves in life. We're told what to do. Suddenly, when you come to a point where you want to maybe leave your job, create something for yourself, you have to choose yourself, and you have to create your own routines and your own success habits.
We don't have too much time left, but I've got a couple more tidbits and stuff that I want to extract from you, because my goodness, am I so glad I got to talk to you, really. One of them, this is just like a small extraction, but I noticed on your email, it's actually like beep at, I think it's like beep at John Mack. And I've never seen that before. And usually like me, I'll be like, I don't know, like info or contact, or I don't know, do you need a hug at emailaddress.com. So I was just wondering, like, why'd you go with the beep? I kind of get it, but yeah, where did that come from?
Well, first of all, you remember it, obviously, which is good.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of saying fuck, it's kind of beeped out.
Okay. Well, I'm not keeping track or anything, but I think we've had 6 F-bombs over the course of the entire series. And
okay, so adding to the stats. Okay. I'm proud.
Hopefully it'll get to the point where I lose track, or maybe not. Anyways.
Well, now you know. Nobody asked about that before. So, and I can tell you, people have named me Beep. They call me Beep. They think it's my first name.
Because of your pattern of behavior there?
No. Because it says Beep in the email address. They think it's actually my name.
Oh, okay. So yeah, my thread went the other way. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. So the next one I wanted to ask, and this is one of the ones, like one of the things I learned about with proper lucid dreaming and heightened connection is like minimize toxin use, and caffeine was like right up in there on that list. But I know that you love your coffee, so I'm just wondering, like, what's your healthy relationship with coffee? You're like a 1-a-day drinker? Do you just use it when you need it? Is it like a luxury for you?
We call it a luxury, but I stick with a couple of cups per day, not too much coffee at all. I don't want to have it, and I can't have it. But I like coffee because, especially in Chiang Mai, because there's so many local farms here. So the coffee is really cultivated in a nice way, and it's a great place. It's amount of coffee shops here, huge amount of coffee shops, high level coffee shops, really nice styled, and also coffee shops that are really local, old, good looking ones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 2 cups per day is enough.
Yeah, I mean, not that it's a competition or anything, but I've got the Nescafe Taster's Choice instant coffee. I'm just saying, it's actually not bad. Like I would like something instant coffee. I would open up and I would smell it and be like, oh, this is an emergency. But like, yeah, this actually smells not bad. So I think I'm down to maybe my last couple of ones. This was more like a broad-reaching one. The question itself is really like what it was about web design in particular. And the reason why I ask about web design in particular is because this is a stereotype straight up. But I think you can understand where it comes from. It's the idea that like the more spiritual someone is, the more likely they are to reject not only the capitalistic society that we're running, but like any form of commerce whatsoever. I mean, eventually everybody has got to find some way to pay the bills, but people are like that. But then you got people who are like completely secular, and they also reject society for their own reasons. So you get people of all sorts. So I'd like to know about like the convergence of your spiritual beliefs and your own skills as well, and how did you like end up exactly with the with web design as your pursuit?
I think it just became like that because I can tell you when I had these 2 first years of multimedia design, I wanted to focus on video for web at that time for some reason, which was not easy. I started with Dreamweaver and HTML code.
Oh my goodness, I haven't heard it in years.
That's
R.I.P.
ancient.
R.I.P. Macromedia.
Yeah, let's take a moment in silence here. That was a long time ago.
Don't tell anybody, but I still have Flash on my computer.
Oh yeah, wow! Oh wow! I remember Flash. Yeah. So I think it came to that, and of course, it was a time also when more and more people needed um, websites. And I think when I sit down and talk to people, I'm pretty good at sharing my energy, so people will get hyped up about what I offer them or what we can do with this. That's how I got into it, and I'm really, in general, I'm technically capable with when it comes to computers and software. So it was easy to learn. So I think that must have been it must have been a way. I'm really good at also selling into people without overselling or try to have them pay huge sums for something they don't need, but be honest and motivate them and see how this can be good for them.
So John, we're out of time. I can't thank you enough for having this opportunity to talk to you. The final question is always like, it's one of the two traditions. The other one was the beginning one. This is the end one. But I'm going to modify it a little bit because there's one extra thing I want to find out from you. So usually, what I ask is if you have any parting words of wisdom, but not that you haven't like spent the last hour giving us wisdom, but just in case there's like any other things you want to do to summarize, put a bow on any of it, by all means. The modified version of this question is any book recommendations. The one I did write down, Past Life. I think it was Dolores Canning, if I got that right.
I think it may not be for beginners, but I mean, it's super interesting books because the books are all recordings, written from recordings, live recordings from clients talking about what's happening in their past lives. And if people knew all this, they would have a totally different feeling about life and death and why it's all happening.
I was told briefly, sorry, I know you're about to answer the question, but I was told briefly that like depending on where we have like birthmarks, that's actually how we got killed in the last life. And I've got a big birthmark on my chest, so I think I was impaled. So that's the only clue that I've got so far.
That happens, and there's even Indian children that's been discovered with physical defects that have been tracked back to previous lives because there's a cell memory, there's an energetic memory there. So.
And then, so yeah, if you got any other books you want to toss onto the list, and then let people know how they can find your content and get in touch with you.
Yeah, there's one book I think I would like to recommend. One thing I talk a lot about these days is manifesting your life. People have to get their shit together with knowing that they have so much more power than they think. And I think for people listening to this podcast, it's probably people that want freedom. If they could choose, they would like to travel and work wherever they want from their laptop on a coffee shop, if they want. And creating websites is one of the easiest ways without coding or design skills. But to make these choices, you have to understand that you have all the power. And when it comes to understanding how powerful we are, there's a mystical, weird Russian author, modern author, that wrote a book on a topic called reality transurfing. I recommend that. If you really want to understand what's actually happening in the moment you start to think a thought and how that's starting to manifest and become a physical reality, you will understand that whatever you put your mind to now from today is going to create that reality if you keep focusing on it. Reality transurfing. That's the concept, and that's a book. You find it on Amazon. So the Russian author is actually a scientist on a metaphysical level. So that's going to make a big impact in people's life.
I think that's as much as we can get out of you. I know it's late there, so I assume that you want to start winding down. So John, once more for the road, thank you so much for your time. And you ended up with saying the book. Just let people know how to find you.
Yeah, so I got 2 websites, depending on what you want to know. johnmac.pro is me as a web designer. You can take a look. And for people who want to learn web design and make an income from that, there's a free download, a blueprint. If you want to fortify yourself and have a more mind-expanding experience, motion-effect.com would be the website.
Okay, terrific. Well, listeners, I'm certain that we've given you plenty to think about and hopefully just as much to act on, so you know what to do. Thanks again, take care, and we'll check in soon. Thanks for listening. You might have found this show on any number of platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, or right here on Debutify. Whatever the case, if you enjoyed this content and want to help us thrive, please take a few moments to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you think is best. We also want to hear from you, so whether you think you'd be a good guest or want to weigh in on anything related to our show, you can email podcast@debutify.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Finally, this podcast is created by the passionate team at Debutify. If you're ready to take the plunge into e-commerce or are looking to up your game, head over to Debutify.com and see how it can change your life and the lives of many through what you do next.